It recently broke less than just a few hours ago that Joel Embiid has a meniscus tear in his right knee. While he hasn't been ruled out yet, if he even does return to the playoffs, he likely won't be the same dominant Embiid we saw this year. This means that the winner of the Bucks next series will go on to represent the East in the NBA Finals. In doing some research to create this video, these are two star-filled teams who I think is going to give us a legendary playoff battle. Today we take a look at the previous matchups, lineups, and coaching to see which team is going to have the edge in this series. Before we get started, if you like this video and are interested in NBA content, consider giving it a like, dropping a comment, and subscribing to the channel to stay up to date with some future videos. First, let's take a look at some previous matchups. The Bucks and Nets have played each other 3 times before, with the Bucks winning 2 of the 3 matchups. The first time, the Nets won 125 to 123. Giannis had 34, with Holiday and Middleton scoring 22 and 25 respectively. But the Nets were able to squeak out a victory thanks to 34 and 12 from Harden, 30 from Durant, and 20 from Joe Harris. The second time, the Bucks won 117 to 114. Durant had 42 points and 10 rebounds, and Irving had another 20. But Giannis retaliated with another 49, and Middleton with 26. In the third time, the Milwaukee Bucks won 124 to 118. Durant had 32 and Irving had 38. Giannis had 36, and Middleton and Holiday both had 23. Milwaukee did have a slight edge on their regular season games, but they never played the Nets at full strength with all 3 of their stars. Both Giannis and Durant had more than 30 points every single game, and they both had a 40-point game. Each player from each team's big 3 scored more than 20 points just about every single time they played each other. But given the fact that every single time these 2 teams played, there was only a few points separating them in the final score, I expect this playoff series is going to be very similar to that. Now let's take a look at the starting lineup. Our first big matchup is Jrue Holiday versus Kyrie Irving. Kyrie has just been having one of his best scoring years ever so far. He has also been playing well, averaging about 6 assists per game. To counter this, Holiday has been one of the best defenders in the league this year and will be sure to give Kyrie a run for his money. While Jrue is not nearly as good as an offensive player as Irving is, he has had some above average games every single time they've played. I expect Holiday to make Irving work for his buckets, but overall, Kyrie is just the better guard, and I do lean with the Nets on this one. Next is Pat Connaughton versus Joe Harris. Joe Harris has been one of the best 3-point shooters ever, making 3 3-pointers per game while shooting 48% from the field, which is absolutely ridiculous. Harris has also been a decent scorer from other levels of the floor, but he doesn't bring too much else to the table. Coming off the bench or starting, Harris is an extremely good role player that makes the Nets offense even more difficult to guard. Pat Connaughton is a decent 3-point shooter and finisher, but overall, he's still just not nearly as good as what Joe Harris is. Neither of these guys are too much on defense or too much of shot creators, and generally they're going to cancel each other out, but I do give the edge to Harris, and I think he is going to do okay scoring against Connaughton. Our next star matchup is Chris Middleton versus James Harden. Harden has excelled this year, becoming a much better distributor, averaging nearly 11 assists per game. He's also had a slight bump in his efficiency due to him taking less shots. Unlike what many of us first thought when he originally went to Brooklyn, Harden has done well in being able to share the ball and score without ruining the flow of the offense. Going up against the Bucks' primary perimeter star, Chris Middleton, Middleton does have a good size advantage on Harden, and Middleton is still an efficient scorer, especially in the clutch. Middleton is one of the top perimeter defenders in the league who should make Harden work for his buckets. But overall, Middleton should be able to score on Harden easier than Harden would on Middleton, but Harden just being James Harden, I'm still giving this matchup to him, and I think he's going to excel for a 30 or 40 point game this series. And your heavyweight battle for this series is going to be the Greek Freak up against Kevin Durant. The true superstar battle of the series, Giannis versus Durant. Durant has been having an amazing season despite turning 32 years old and coming off of a torn Achilles. Durant has been incredibly efficient, putting up 27 points per game. This showed in their most recent series where Durant had a 32-point, a 39-point, and a 42-point game. But going up against him is Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis is once again having one of his best seasons, averaging 28 points, 11 rebounds on a 57% field goal percentage. Giannis is also coming off of one of his best playoff performances with a 20-point, 15 assists, 12 rebound triple-double to sweep the Miami Heat, the team that dominated them the year before. I do lean this matchup towards Giannis. He has been electric on offense this year and has been dominant on the fast break and in the half court. Defensively, I also do think he's going to do a pretty solid job against Durant. But Kevin Durant is also Kevin Durant. He's going to make Giannis work for his shots, and he is going to hit some crazy shots over Giannis. If Durant can play some solid defense, this series may be over quicker than what we anticipate. Blake Griffin may be one of the few flaws with this Brooklyn lineup. He has shown flashes of still being able to finish down low and still be a solid 3-point shooter, but he's an incredibly weak rebounder and defender. I think the Bucks are going to take advantage and try to switch him on to one of their stars every time he's on the floor. Griffin will do a good job in helping the Nets offense space out the floor and make Brooklyn's offense even more difficult to stop. But Lopez does have the edge being a better defender and rebounder. Lopez also does the same thing that Blake Griffin does, being able to shoot threes at a pretty equal ability. And I expect that he is going to have little trouble scoring on the smaller, aging Blake Griffin. But no matter how much one of these guys dominates the other, I don't think it's going to be a pivotal matchup that changes the flow of the series. Neither of these teams have very strong benches. The most notable players for the Bucks would probably be PJ Tucker and Bryn Forbes. Forbes had a game where he scored 22 points in only 20 minutes against the Heat, and Tucker is a good defender and 3-point shooter who could be able to negate some of the Nets' stars on offense. Bruce Brown and Landry Shamet are two solid guards coming off of the bench for Brooklyn, but Brown is only a 28% 3-point shooter, and his weakness from the 3 is something the Bucks may be able to capitalize on, as Milwaukee loves to invite players to shoot the 3 ball. Overall, I'd say the benches are pretty even, and I think the way that Budenholzer and Nash manage the rotations will go a long way in how effective the reserves will be. I do think Milwaukee also has the advantage when it comes to coaching. Mike Budenholzer appears to have been doing a better job at making adjustments and using Giannis in a more effective way in the half court. While the Bucks may not have the same record as last year, the addition of Jrue Holiday makes Milwaukee a much more versatile team, a much better playoff team, and a much better team both on offense and defense. I did reach out to a few Nets fans on their subreddit r/GoNets and did find some mixed results on Nash. But overall, the consensus was a positive one, saying he still has a ways to go. He does make some bad mistakes and some bad rotations, but he's generally done a good job managing the team in his first year. I do think Mike is currently the better coach, the better X's and O's coach, and even the better coach when it comes to making adjustments. But don't count out the young Steve Nash and the Brooklyn Nets just yet. Overall, I do rank this series towards the Nets. They have a star-filled lineup in a star league. The Bucks do match up well against their stars, and frankly, I don't think there is any other team in the league who can match up as well from a defensive standpoint. But when you have players this good, it is hard to imagine Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden being held down for 7 games. Middleton definitely has a reputation of a good playoffs player, and Holiday has made the Bucks a much better team than what they were just a few years ago. I also don't expect the Brooklyn Nets to have the same defensive scheme and have the same ability to hold down Giannis the way that the Miami Heat did just a few years ago. If their matchups earlier this year showed us anything, it shows that this is going to be a high-scoring, exciting, star-filled series. I think this is going to be an incredibly defining series of games for the Bucks and Giannis Antetokounmpo, and I think a win here is going to be huge for Giannis on just a historic scale. But I just do give the Milwaukee Bucks the underdog status. These Nets look damn near undefeatable, and it is going to take a historic effort from Giannis to change that. I see this going to at least 6 games and most likely even 7. And as like I said, with Joel Embiid being out with a meniscus tear, it's likely the winner here is going to go on to the NBA Finals. That is the end of this video. If you liked my content, if you liked me actually talking about these 2 teams, go ahead and hit the like button to show that you like this video and subscribe to stay up to date with my future videos. That's it for this one. I'll catch you guys later.